All right, everyone, welcome. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to start with like a little presentation slideshow thing that I want to make sure that everyone kind of just gets on the same page with our planners. And we'll do this again next week with journals to kind of help you get oriented. Because I know a lot of you, some of you I think have bought planners before, the Thriving Mother planner before, and some of you, it was part of the package for the Soaring Mother Summit. And so from there, there's just a lot of there's not a lot, but I just want to help everyone kind of get oriented. And then we're going to dive deep into the bonuses so that you kind of understand all of the planner bonuses that are available to you to help like use them. And there's a straightforward manner. And then we will get into questions. So if you have questions along the way, go ahead and ask for sure. I'll make sure to pop out the chat box so that I can see your thought. See that as I'm sharing that with you or sharing the presentation with you. And then yeah, at the end, we'll do Q&A, coaching, whatever questions you have. We'll just kind of go from there. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. All right. And let's see. All right. Can I get a thumbs up? You can see my screen. And then I'm going to make sure that I can see participants for participant window. Okay, great. I'm seeing thumbs up. You can see when people are joining. Awesome. And I'll see if you can. Okay. So we're going to talk about 5 planning hacks for moms, how to check everything off your to-do list and still have time for what you want to do. So I don't know how many of you use to-do lists or are planner people to begin with. Is that okay? I'm seeing some head nods. All right. Okay. So hopefully some of this might be familiar, but hopefully we'll be able to approach it in a slightly different way to get rid of some of that overwhelm. So everything I'm sharing today is something that is tried, tested, and used every day by real moms. I mean, for me, I homeschool my 4 kids. We have always lived super far away from our family, so I don't have built-in babysitting or grandparents to drop my kids off with or extra help. We spent our first 8 years of marriage in grad school, so we didn't have any extra money to make things easier. And I podcast and work on my small business in pockets of time throughout the day and can make massive progress in those pockets of time. So my point here is that we all have limitations, right? But we can still be really creative, and these principles will carry you through whatever those limitations will be. So Catherine, I want you to meet Catherine because again, this is not just me now. We've had mothers using this planner for years. And I love Catherine. She's become a dear friend, but she said, this has made me a better mother and wife since I'm not overwhelmed, frazzled, and stressed out by everything. I've been able to clutter my home, work on memory projects, and improve my health while still adventuring with my family and working full-time as a nurse. She is incredible. So it really works. This works if you are a full-time stay-at-home mom. It works if you're working from home or you're out of the home. It works if you're homeschooling or your kids are in public school. It works if you've got so much going on, you can't squeeze one more thing into your day and you're falling into bed completely exhausted each night. Or if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're bored and you're burned out and you feel like every day is the same with your toddler. It works if you have no clue what you want your life to look like. So I'm going to show you how to change how you plan or maybe tweak how you plan or start planning so that you can check everything off of your to-do list and still have time for the things you want to do. Because really my goal here for you is that you can create a life that you love, that you are excited to wake up to each day, and one that's unique to you and to your personal life puzzle, to your own situations. Okay, so let's talk about planners for a minute. Chances are when I said planner, or you're thinking about your planner, you're either like, ooh, I love planners. I'm a planner person. This place is for me. Or you're like, I'm not really a planner person. I'm trying it. But like, maybe you feel like this guilt because you've got a stack of unused planners hiding in the back of your closet. Or maybe one time you bought like this really pretty planner from Target, or maybe an Erin Condren planner. And you're like, I didn't really use it. This is kind of like, I'm not sure. So let's talk about how we can be successful here. So the Thriving a Motherhood planner was created out of one revolutionary concept for me that changed everything. So after my first baby was born, I was feeling really overwhelmed, and I wanted to, and like, there was a lot to manage, but I was also kind of bored at the same time. It was kind of one of those, you probably all remember what it was like to have your first child, right? It's kind of a hard entry. And so I decided to grab my planner because that was what I'd been using with great success since middle school. I was a Franklin Covey 2 pages a day planner user, and it was great fun. So, but I would write out my schedule for the day and my list of to-dos, but the baby would sleep late or things would take longer than I was expected. And I felt like I was just constantly transferring my to-do list, adding more to it than I could check off in a day, or I'd write the schedule over and over again, but wasn't able to follow it. And it was just really frustrating. So I gave up. So after my second child was born, I started kind of I was determined to stop living by default because I couldn't find a way to make the planner work. But this time I knew that the planner was the problem and not me. So we needed a different planner solution. So here's the first thing. The planner, that's when I realized the planner is not for you to make plans that you have to follow. It's so that you have clarity to know what the next right thing is for you to do at any point in your day. It is a decision-making tool, not a productivity tool. Okay. So how do we get that clarity? I want you to think about your planner like a map. All right. So when you have a map, you use it to pick your destination, to plan your trip, and to navigate yourself there. You don't know exactly what the route's going to look like as you're traveling, but you have at least a general idea of where you're heading and what the possible roads could lead you there. So when you come to a decision, whether, maybe you're like, okay, do I go left? Do I go right? Do we go up the mountain? Do we go through the bridge? You can see what the map says and then make a decision and see what you think will work best. So you might be someone who has a great sense of direction. And once your trip is planned, like you're pretty good. You don't have to look at the map. You're just going to go on the adventure. You might be someone like me who's like going to keep your finger on that map the whole way or stare at the GPS so you know exactly where you are. But either way, once you're at your destination, you're not going like, man, I wish I used my map more, or I wish I didn't use my map so much. Okay. It's a very neutral tool, right? It's just meant to navigate us and to help us figure out where we're going. Okay. So, and then your map can be fun too, right? Maybe you or someone in your family has a map with a pin showing all the places that you've been or all the places that you lived. Or maybe you get those emails from Google that says, hey, this is how many miles you've driven, or these are all the cities you visited. Okay. They help us remember, they help us celebrate, and they help us reflect on our adventures. They are really fun. Okay. Without that map, you're just wandering with no destination in mind and you have no clue where you're headed or where you're going, which there are seasons for that, right? Like that could be a fun thing to do intentionally, but without that map, you still don't know, even when you have that map, you still don't know exactly where you are going or what you're going to see or what you're going to experience, but you have this vision for where you want to end up. Okay. So like a map, your Thriving in Motherhood planner provides direction to help you get oriented through the day. It starts by helping you create a vision or getting this destination so that you are purposeful with how you're navigating each day and helping you get closer to who you want to be and what you want to do. Your choices matter because you are the one who can make your vision a reality, and you have a special mission in this life that needs fulfilling. I believe that with all of my heart. So this Thriving in Motherhood planner gives you clarity to decide what matters most to you and God at any given moment in your day, whether that be taking a nap or working on the next step in your project, folding laundry, reading a book with your kids, helping a friend, planning a date night, serving somebody, calling a friend. Okay. This planner also will help you celebrate and see that progress, growth, and that you're having. It'll help you remember the adventures that you're having, so that you can enjoy the life that you have and let these experiences and this growth and this learning become part of your identity. So you might be like Madeline and feel like I'm not a planner person, but for her, she's been using the planner for 3 years now because it doesn't matter if she looks at it every day or sits it down for a few weeks. Just knowing what her vision is each year helps her make progress on the things that matter to her in her life. And the monthly reviews help her see that it's becoming a reality guilt-free. Okay. So if you're like, I don't really want this to be my hobby, it doesn't have to be. This does not have to take a ton of time. All right. But you also might be like Mackenzie. I love Mackenzie. She has the planner help her organize everything. Whether my goal is big or small, I now know how to focus on the next step and break things down into small, manageable, consistent actions. This year, I've been consistent with my habits, my homeschooling, and launched my business. The fun thing about Mackenzie is she carries her planner with her everywhere. She told me it's with her all day long. So you might be someone that like wants the thing to become like your next, your third arm. So either end of the spectrum, it will work for you. Okay. So, but the real question here is what happens when you take your trip without a destination or map, right? Like a lot of our struggles in motherhood come because we are having a hard time making a decision. And so we just need a way to come up with an individual tool because I I also don't think that there's not one right answer for any of us, right? We all have unique children. We all have unique marriages. We all have unique jobs or home situations. We all have unique limitations. And so um, this tool is really going to help you design your own map that's going to help you navigate life as it currently is for you. All right. Now I want to paint this vision for you. If you've been hanging out with me for any length of time, you've probably heard this idea of a soaring mother, but this is really what I am aiming for myself, and what I love creating with all of you is becoming the soaring mother. So S stands for serving, that we use our unique gifts and talents to serve others in your circle of influence. So this is going to look different for each one of us. For me, I love that I can serve people in person, my friends, people right around me, friends, on the phone, but then also all of you, right? This influence has grown bigger. And so what are your gifts and talents, and how can you use them to serve your family, your people in your community, and beyond? Obedience for me is this idea of partnering with God and creating my unique life with him. So this isn't just about like being like, God told me to do this and I'm doing this, but it's really seeking revelation, asking questions like, what can I do now to prepare for what's coming next? Because you're the only one that knows what's coming next. What would you have me do today? Who can I serve today? These types of questions that really allow me to partner with him, as well as taking things on a bigger scale and creating my vision with him. Okay, the adventure portion of being a soaring mother is being able to approach life as a grand adventure, not hold on so tightly to certain results or live in fear, but to be able to really enjoy the days and the circumstances, even when they're not my favorite. But then there's also this practical element too, of like, you actually have time to adventure with your family and to have fun. I feel like that is so important. And when we're weighed down, we're overwhelmed, it's hard to do that. So we are soaring. We want to have adventures. And the final part is relationships, where we have that time and energy to invest and enjoy meaningful relationship with friends and family. So again, this might look different for each one of you, but this is the vision that I want to paint for all of us of, instead of surviving moms, I want us to be soaring moms. So let's jump into these 5 hacks here. So the first one is to ditch the to-do list. All right. Would you ever play a game you know you're going to lose over and over again? No, of course not, right? It's not that fun if you're already going to lose. So have you ever sat down and wrote a to-do list when you felt overwhelmed at the start of your day, or when you have a lot going on? Has anyone ever checked something off? Like, honestly, in the chat box, tell me, have you ever checked the whole list off? No, right? Like, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we write a list and say like, oh, this is going to be great. I know I'm only going to get 5 of those things checked off, but I'm going to stare at it all day long and think about all the things that I haven't done yet and feel overwhelmed, right? Like, that's what happens. So it feels good to get everything out of our head on paper. And there are some seasons where you do have to do a list, right? Like when we've moved, everything has to get checked off. When we've got a big project, everything has to get checked off. When we're going on vacation, it all has to be checked off. But when I get done checking it off, like, I am worn out, I am exhausted, I want to crawl into a hole and not come out for a while. And so that's not how we want to live life the majority of the time. Okay. So the majority of the time we're writing these lists, knowing we're not going to get everything done that we want to do that day. Okay. And then even worse, like, to add insult to injury, every time we look at that list, we're having to look through a dozen of options to make a decision. And so oftentimes when we're looking at these lists, we're like, oh, should I do this? I don't know. Should I do that? I don't know, maybe. And it's just exhausting to be faced over and over again with all the things that we have to do. So that is why the Thriving in Motherhood Planner uses context-based to-dos. All right. So instead of writing this super long list, we're now breaking up to-dos into context, which, let's look at this. Okay. So this is what your planner looks like. If you bought the weekly plan or the hourly one, so this is the one for the weekly spread. Like, oh, this, I don't know. Can you see me? I don't know if you can see me, but the hourly spread also has it. It's just written like in a different column format. All right. So what this means is when you're looking at this planner, you write down certain things that you would do at home. So for example, if it was things like, let's see, what has been on my home list recently? Do probably not laundry. Let's see. What do I write in home? I guess I haven't been working on my home very much recently. Oh, homeschool prep. I know. Yes. Like if I'm doing homeschool prep, things that I'm doing in that context. So I would do my homeschool prep if I want to clean a bathroom or like deep clean an area that I'm not normally working on. Anything that I can do while the kids are kind of playing by themselves, anything I would do at home, I would write in my home prep. Under computer are the tasks that I have to do like on my actual computer screen. So that might be things like paying bills, writing emails to somebody, researching a topic. Under phone, those are things that like phone calls I actually make. So for me, that's not like working on my phone. It's like, okay, I need to call the doctor. I need to call the dentist. I need to call the fireplace person to fix the fireplace. Okay. Those types of calls. Errands are things that we need to do out of the house, go to the library, drop recycling off at the charm place, hard to recycle things. And then discuss is often overlooked, but so essential. What conversations do you need to have with people to be able to move whatever you need to do forward? So maybe you have a goal to start running. So you need to talk to your husband about when you're going to start running, to watch the kids. Or maybe you want to I want to build built-in bookshelves. So sometimes my next step means like having a conversation with a friend or having a conversation with the electrician or having, what are the questions that I need to discuss with them to be able to move the project forward. And sometimes I write, what do I need to discuss with God on that spot? So you can adapt those. Now, people that have been using this planner for years, sometimes they're like, you know what, these don't work with me. And so they write their own. There's always a bonus spot in there. I personally use the extra spot for specific business things that I want to do. I've used it sometimes for like, if I want to bulk cook a bunch of food, what are the food I want to make it that week? You kind of get to decide. But then what's really great is you're like, okay, everyone's bouncing off the walls or I'm bouncing off the walls. I need to get out of this house. I look at my errand spot. That's the only thing I look at. We can knock it all out. Or I'm sitting down on the computer instead of being distracted and being like, I should check my email, or maybe I could look on social media, or what's the news? I just look at my computer list and I start busting things out. So it saves so much time by writing your list this way because you have less options and you can immediately jump into action when you have a moment pop up. So it's a super powerful switch. All right. Planning hack number 2, plan your weeks, not your days. All right. I have this goes again with changing the game, right? We want to create a winning game, a game we can win. All right. So I have very little idea of what each day is going to look like, and something unexpected can throw off the entire day. That's why writing out my daily schedule every day or a specific to-do list each day just doesn't work. But over the course of the week, I have a pretty good idea of what's possible. So when I sit down to plan my week, I write down what is realistic, not ideal. My goal is to write down a week where I can check everything off and win my game. And honestly, I leave a lot of space, a lot of room for not doing anything at all or doing whatever my family needs me to do, right? Like still, I'm not writing down that I'm cooking 3 meals a day or all the things I'm doing for homeschool or the fact that I'm doing laundry every day. Like I don't need to write all those things down. They're happening. So really, there's very little that I need to write down within the course of my week on a typical week because there's not actually that much time for bonus to-dos that aren't just happening in the regular rhythm of life. So in fact, when I stop sharing my screen, I will show you how much I typically write down in a week so you can kind of see what that is. Okay, so when I do a weekly planning session, let's kind of start putting some of this together. I write down my scheduled appointments in the left-hand column. Again, this is the weekly layout. If you have the hourly layout, you would just write it down at the time that your appointments are happening. This is pretty straightforward. You only write down things like doctor's appointments, like things that have a specific time and a specific place to go to, like that you have to do these things. So, or meetings that you would go to, doctor's appointments, play dates, things that are actually for sure happening at that time. Then the second thing I do is if there's anything that has to be done that day, I write those things down. Now, there's very, very rarely do I put things in this category. Things that I might put down are like the day I have to put a podcast episode in, like I have to have that uploaded on a certain day. So that gets written down on a day specific to do. But that's kind of it. Like you might have a few things like that, but there really shouldn't be many things that have to be done every single day. That maybe aren't already routine. So I guess when I was getting better, I guess exception here was like, okay, when I was getting better at doing my laundry, I would write that down every day until I had a child that started having an accident. Now there's no need to write it down because there's no way to miss it because we do laundry every morning, so I don't write that down because I don't need to. So I write down I guess my point in saying that is I write down as little as possible. I want to win my game. I write down just the right amount. Okay. So the difference here then, because then I fill in my context-based to-dos after that. So the day specific to-dos, again, rare, but context-based to-dos are what I need to do each week. And they're my have-tos as well as some of my want to-dos. The reason for that is because then I have the entire week to look at those things. I'm spending my entire week looking at each day. Okay, great. The kids are playing. I'm going to make a phone call. Or all right, I'm going to knock out a house project. Everyone's playing outside. This is a great time. So you spend your week looking for those moments that pop up, those contexts that pop up, and you can start making great progress on your lists. And by the end of the week, they are typically checked off. So, and then the third part of planning my week is after I know what kind of week it's going to be, I plan realistic dinners. So I try and sync that up. So I've looked at my scheduled appointments. I've looked at what I want to do. And then we go like, all right, this is going to be a crock pot meal night. This is going to be a quesadilla night, or this is going to be like bulk cook food night and cook for a bunch of nights because this is when I have the most time and energy. All right, number 3, we need to put one spot for all of your ideas. So how many of you fall into that Post-it note or Pinterest trap or like, things on your phone or all of the above, right? Like you have this awesome idea on Pinterest, you pin it on a board, but you don't see it again until the holidays passed. Or you write down a phone number on a piece of junk mail, but you can't find it again when you need it. Or you have this like really great plan for your room design in a random notebook, but you can't find it right when you want it, or you have to like run across the house to search for it. Okay. Or you're talking to a friend, you get this great recommendation for like a book that you want to read or a movie you want to see. And so you make a note on your phone or in a text message, right? There's just a level of stress with having our ideas scattered everywhere, not to mention it slows us down. It's also really hard in this scenario to figure out what your next step is, what matters to you, and have it in a format to make a decision about what to say yes to or what to say no to. Because again, we're trying to make decisions here. So some of those examples would go into context-based to-dos, like a phone call, right? You could write that phone number right down into your phone spot. But there's a few other places in your Thriving in Motherhood planner to give all of these ideas and thoughts a home. So one of my favorite is that towards the beginning of your planner, this is your sandbox. It's the quarterly spread. So it's right after you've got your goal setting section in the front. And then right before those monthly calendars, you've got a quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. They're called quarterly planning. Now, what's really fun with this is I love just to think of this as my sandbox. It's a place to organize the possibilities without scheduling them. Like I'm not like putting it in my calendar saying this is happening on this day. And I'm not making like a major commitment to myself. Like this has to happen. This isn't like a to-do item, but it allows me to do a couple of things. One, visualize the year. It creates like loose plans for big projects, like maybe getting family pictures done, and help me visualize like, all right, if I want to be sending out Christmas cards in December, then I need to have my envelopes bought and letters written by November. And I maybe want to take my family pictures in October. Just kind of visualize that. It's also a great way for me to map out and be like, okay, we're going to take this big trip in June and July. We're going to go on a huge road trip. So that means that is not the time to plan X, Y, and Z in. Like that is going to be kind of blocked out time, not goal time. But this is also where I put like, if I see a super cool idea on Pinterest, like, okay, we could make gingerbread houses for our kids in December. Then in December, I'm going to write gingerbread houses. And so as I'm going back and I'm planning, which I'll show you some of these other planning routines, it's a great place to come back and reference my possibilities and remind myself like, oh, that was a cool tradition. Or that's another thing I love writing right now in there is, what are the traditions that we did that were super successful, that we love, that we want to repeat? Because it allows me to go back and be like, oh, that was a cool tradition. I need to remember to do that again. All right. The other place. So one of my biggest pet peeves with planners is that there's always more to write than there's space for, and never in the right places. So we just solved that problem by creating a think and process page for every single week. So every single week in your planner, you've got a lined piece of paper and a big box, and you can put whatever in there that you want to. I will use it for kids' shopping lists, like for planning their wardrobes. I'll use it for jotting down like inspiration that I had that I felt like I wanted to remember. I'll use it for planning projects. I'll use it for taking notes. I'll use it for mind mapping and doing the brain dumps. When I feel like I do need a brain dump, I will dump in there. I'll do planning lists. I'll write quotes that my kids said. It just keeps everything all in one spot so that we don't have them running, things aren't running in a million directions all over. All right, number 4. I know we're going fast, but if you have any questions, again, pop them in the chat, and then we are going to circle around and talk extensively about whatever you want to in just a few minutes. I've got 2 more. So let's see. This next one here is break free of the all I do is trap. So this one gets me, and it might get you, but it's just like when things are busy or even when they're not, I start to think, oh, all I do is wash dishes. All I do is do laundry. All I do is whatever anybody else wants me to do. I don't do anything for me. I just do, whatever it is, right? All I do is trap. So these are the stories the brain tells us, right? When I'm pregnant, all I do is lay on the couch and grow a baby. All I do is run the kids around in the car from place to place. All I do is wash dishes, make food, change diapers. Okay. But we need a way to reality check, because that's really depressing story. It's very victimizing. It's also not true. My guess, it's probably a lie. So every single month we go to a place to celebrate and reflect so you can see more clearly what your life is made of. Typically, when I start this exercise, I'm like not feeling great about my life. And I am in that all I do is trap. Even knowing everything I know, I'm still thinking like, oh, what? We didn't really do anything. Da, 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 da. And then I sit down, I start writing, well, what did I discover? What did I learn? What did I accomplish? Where did we go? What did we do as a family? What were some milestones? What books did I read? What podcasts did I listen to? And by the end of writing that down, I feel like $1,000,000. Because you start to see all of these things that maybe you learned, all of these things you discovered, all of these things that you actually did. It's also nice for the time when you write it down, you're like, this is good, but not great. It starts to see like maybe this is why things are feeling out of balance. Like, I don't think I did learn anything. If you didn't learn anything, then that's a time to course correct and be a little bit more aware of what's going on. Right. So this is a way to, honestly, this is magic. This changed everything for me. When I started doing this one exercise, my life got 10 times better because I was seeing it more clearly. So we do it every single month. It is so fun. All right. Number 5, we're going to embrace the power of the big 3. So this is something that you don't have to do. If you went through this entire thing so far and everything was new to you, that might be enough for right now. And that's totally fine. If you went through though, and you're familiar with a lot of these things, I definitely want you to think about this one. All right. So the goal here is to live in a world that is important and not urgent. So right now, if you feel like you're putting out fires all day, like everything is an emergency and you're just rushing from place to place, we want to start moving away from that and spend more and more of your time doing things that matter most to you and align with your vision for the year. So instead of running around and saying saying yes to everything or yes to all the fires, or we want to start saying yes to the things that you decided matter when you created your vision. And we're going to circle back to that vision part in a minute. So this is what it looks like. All right. This is the 4 phases of creating a life you love. So let's put it all together, big picture here. So the very first thing you do is you're going to create your yearly vision, who you want to be and what you want to do. Things that are important to you for that year, things that are important to your family for that year. Then we hit to the next phase, which is manage. Now, this is a lot of what we talked about. This is where you do your appointments, you do your meal planning, your context-based to-dos. If you've done nothing, no planning, and you start just managing, you're going to notice a big difference. This is not all or nothing. Actually, if you just create your vision, that's going to make a big difference. Okay. You're going to start just working towards that. Then if you have the next layer of managing, where you're starting to write down your appointments, you're going to do your meal planning, you're going to have your context-based to-dos in there. You're going to feel confident when you're scheduling things. You're going to make that stress at 4:00 every day go way down because you already know what dinner is. You're going to start making progress on your projects or on things that have to happen just by having them in context. That's going to make a huge difference. Things start to get really exciting though in the momentum phase. This is where you start doing your daily big 3 and your weekly big 3. I'll dive into that in a second. It's where you do your monthly reviews. Now, the reason why this is really fun is when you start doing your daily big 3s and your weekly big 3s, and you're doing your monthly reviews. So you're reflecting every 30 days and seeing all that you're accomplishing and all that you're doing and all that you're learning. You're going to start seeing progress. Often I find that I don't do things not because I'm a mom, or I don't get to things, not because I don't have time, but because I don't have energy. And what's really fun is that when you start building this momentum, when you start seeing progress, progress builds energy and it's an upward cycle. And so if you feel like you can't get to things, it could be an energy problem. And that energy problem could be because you're not seeing progress or momentum. So we can solve that by doing these big threes, these monthly reviews, and it's going to start spiraling. Now we get to the fourth phase here, which is where things just feel so good, which is where now we're doing our quarterly reviews, which are built into the planner. You're doing your monthly and weekly reviews. You're planning out your weeks ahead of time. And you're constantly circling back to that yearly vision, because we circle back when we look at our yearly vision every quarter. We reevaluate it, we reassess it, we see what's new that needs to be brought into our life. What do we need to let go of? Like, we thought this was a good idea in January. It does not make any sense in June now. Our life is totally different than we thought. We're scrapping the whole thing and starting over. That's fine. And that's why there's space for that in here. But when you start circling back around and you're choosing every week 3 things that help move your vision forward for the year, and every day you're choosing 3 teeny tiny baby steps that move your vision forward for the year, and every month you're seeing, hey, that vision's happening, and you're spending more and more time and saying yes to those things that you're choosing and no to the other things that are just popping in. Because you can say, like, if I'm saying yes to this activity, then I'm saying no to making progress on this thing that matters to me. You start spending more and more time in the important and not urgent category, and your life becomes very powerful. You become very powerful when you live in this place of alignment, and you're able to move through your life this way. So that's kind of the super big picture of what we're working towards here. And what's fun is I probably spent 5 years getting to this point as I slowly put the planner together, slowly learn these, tools. But as I worked with my Soaring Mothers group, which was like this course membership program, coaching program that I did last year, by about 6 months into the year, everyone got all these things figured out, and they're cruising this year on these things. So it's something that can be learned fairly quickly, which is awesome. Like, you can see a huge difference very quickly. Okay, so let's talk about the big 3 for a second. So if you're talking about a big 3 in business, this is a very, like, if you've watched any entrepreneur things or business things or corporate training things, they often talk about big 3. And the way they talk about it is that there are 3 things that moves the needle forward. And typically moving the needle forward means money. 3 things that'll bring more money into your business. Okay. So for personal applications, it's 3 things that moves you towards your goals, that starts making your goals and your projects happen. So for moms, what does this look like? For me, in a week, as I'm choosing my big 3 for the week, I typically choose, like, one of my big 3 might be a project for me or for my business or for a goal I'm working on or a hobby. And then I might have 1 to 2 things that are projects for my family. So for example, if I have, like, my daughter's birthday, that's going to be a big 3 for the week. Or clothes shopping, that's going to be a big 3 for the week. Sometimes one of my big 3s will be for something or someone outside of our family, which doesn't happen super often. But here, let me just rattle off a few big 3s. Also, many weeks I have a big 1 or a big 2, because again, I'm trying to set myself up to win. And if it's a really big 1 or a really big 2, or it's just a really big week, I'm going to have like 1 thing and then not overload myself, right? I'm trying to set myself up to win. So here, big 3 1 week, clean upstairs. That was the only one. We just want to get the upstairs cleaned out. Let's see. Okay. All summer, I didn't write down any big 3s because we were traveling, and I feel zero guilt about that. Just so you know, I use it when I need it, and I don't when I don't. Okay. Big 3 1 was work on the summit, homeschooling, and decluttering my house. That was 1 week. And that was the same thing for the next week. So sometimes there's a theme. I'm pretty focused within a month. Okay. But school, self-care, 1 week, my big 3 was self-care. I could tell that I was starting to teeter. And so for me, I needed to do things like focus on my sleep, focus on my exercise, focus on walks, focus on talking to people. Things like that. Working on selling planners, working on recording some course videos, cleaning my kids' room. Okay. It's very customizable, but where you get them from is your vision for the year. Okay. That's where it gets really, really unique. Is we get those big 3s. And then for the day, so I always write a weekly big 3. I choose it on Sunday night after I've kind of like looked through my week. I've looked through my monthly planning. I'm doing my weekly planning. I pick my big 3. Now, daily big three totally depends on the season. When I'm in a really intense season where I need to make progress every single day on things, I read my scriptures, I journal, I pray, I take a shower, I think, and then I write my big three after that and kind of see what God is leading me to that day to be my big three. There are many days where I do not write a big three. My daily schedule with my kids is enough and I don't want to squeeze any more in. So it's something to use. I want you to think of all of these things as a tool to help support you in the season of life that you're in, not something that you have to do and not something that you have to fail at. This is a map. You only have to use it as much as you need to help you get where you need to go. Don't feel like you have to do all the things. Okay. I kind of just fire hosed you. And I want to show you how to have some more hand holding. So everyone here has access to, well, actually, that's not true. All of you need to have access to this bonus planner content. You have an older version of this. If you bought a planner for 2021 planner earlier, you have access to this in a different place in an email. If you bought it for 2022 or later, you automatically have access to this page. And if you want access to this page, I need you to contact me. If you're not going to buy the 2022 planner, you'll get it automatically. If you don't buy the 2022 planner, you need to contact me to get access to it because I have to do it manually. But let's go here. Oh, okay. So here it is. Can you guys see this course page? Okay. So this is what it looks like. This is your planner bonus content. And I've got 3 sections in here. So I'm just going to walk you through so you know how to use each one so that it's just very clear about how to get what you need. So the very first one is getting started with your planner. Don't be alarmed. This is on my side and I know I need to fix it. Okay. So over here, we've got the getting started with your planner video. This is like 20 or 30 minutes and it's me holding your hand, talking with you through every single, page of your planner in great detail. So if I kind of went fast and pulled out some principles, but this will like hold your hand through every single page with me explaining how I use every single page in every order. So you can walk through that. I highly recommend watching that if you haven't yet. Then this next lesson is going to be quick links to podcast episodes that help you understand your planner. So Megan, who's actually on this call, made this a personal project a little while ago and found all of the planner episodes, all the podcast episodes about the planner. So if you want a dive deeper into a quarterly review, it's right here, or a monthly review, it's right here, or context-based to do right here. How to make progress on goals when you're exhausted right here. Meal planning, it's here. Big three, how and why a big three for the week, how to choose it right here. So you can go through and listen to kind of deep dive on all these topics. It's all on the regular podcast too, but it's just linked to be easier to access. All right. Now, this is really exciting. We've got your Create Your Vision audio walkthrough. So the most powerful part of this whole planner is the Create Your Vision section. Actually, that's not true. It's all really powerful, but it's really good. This section is really good. Okay. But it's also kind of big. So what I did here is I just went through and it's kind of like an audio book with commentary. So you can start listening to these things just on the go and start thinking. Like you might not want to sit down. Like sometimes if I sit down and look at a blank page, I'm like, I don't know what my talents are. I don't know. But if you start listening and, listen to it and think about it, then you can, when you do sit down, you can be ready to write. So I just wanted to maximize your opportunities for success here and figuring out what your vision is for you. And so it is nice and long. Now I think we updated maybe the titles. I recorded it last year, so I might say the wrong year, but it'll still work, I promise. So that is that part. Now this is new. The audio coaching is new. And this is maybe the most powerful section for you. I don't know, guys. It's also good. Just kidding. You're going to want to use this too. All right. This is powerful. So I have spent a lot of time coaching moms one-on-one now. And this is like me taking you through as if you sat down and paid me to work with you one-on-one. This is what we would talk through. And so I have recorded the same things I say over and over again when I'm working with other moms And so when you are sitting down to do your daily planning, you can play this, and it's me coaching you through a daily planning. If you are sitting down doing a weekly review, this is me coaching you through a weekly review. If you're sitting down to do a monthly review, it's me coaching you through a monthly, quarterly. I'm right there in your pocket, right? These are the same questions I ask in my group coaching and individual coaching calls. And so these are powerful. This is new. This is like, I want you to have so much success, right? I want you to have so much success. And so I feel like this is a way that I can help give you everything that I possibly can with your planner so that you can hit the ground running. Okay, so those are all of your bonuses. And so hopefully that helps you get an idea of where to go for help right now as you're starting to navigate this. Now, I know there's so many resources, but it's also simple. It's all in the planner. You technically don't need any of this. So you can just open it up and start turning pages and you'll figure it out just fine. I don't want you to feel intimidated. I don't want you to feel like, oh my goodness, I have to have like this huge course to be successful. No, you don't, but it helps. It's kind of fun. So that for me is everything I wanted to use to kind of like your orientation 101, planner 101 in 45 minutes. The short version. And I have a whole, if you want the super deep dive or do it with people, I do have a course in January that I open up once a year so I can work with you all year, but this is everything you need to be successful. Having said that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see all of you. And I would love to get your questions, any comments that you have, anything you want to talk through, any individual planning situations you want to talk about. For some of you, you're using this year's planner. Some of you are kind of waiting till next year, but you can start on your visions now, which is why we're having this conversation right now. So yeah, anyone, you can type in the chat or you can just unmute. Honestly, you can see your face and that's fun too. I like just talking with all of you.
I have a question.
Yes, Emily.
First of all, thank you for all this information that you shared. And my question is that I'm worried that I'm going to fail at using this planner like I've used, every other planner before. And that it seems amazing, but I'm worried that I don't know, I guess I don't trust myself to use it to its full potential, and that I'm just going to be disappointed during the year and throughout the year and then just give up. So how do you recommend being accountable to yourself and actually following through with what you want to do?
Okay, I love it. And there's a couple of different levels there. So I think general principle 1, anytime you want to be successful with something new, you need to make it as easy as possible. So first thing would be lower the barrier to success and set up the environment. So where would you keep your planner? Where do you guys like to keep? So first of all, just where would you keep your planner so that you would see it? That would be one thing, set up the environment. And this is actually, I want to talk about this. I would love for everyone to type in the chat box where they keep their planner or where they think they're going to keep their planner. Because Emily, this is such a good question. I get this all the time. And people are like, oh, I just don't know where to put my planner. So let's talk about it. Where are you going to put your planners? Okay, Phoebe, in a basket in my kitchen island or on the counter realistically? Yeah, mine's on my kitchen counter during the day. Absolutely. That's a fantastic spot. Desk in the kitchen. Megan, perfect. Emily, bedroom desk or kitchen counter. Yeah. Emily, I've been keeping my planner in the kitchen for a few years. Fantastic. Jamie, nightstand. Yeah. And for me, it's mine's in my bedroom at night. And then I look, do my planning in the morning and I carry it down to the kitchen. It's on the counter all day. Or if I happen to be going somewhere, I'll pop it in there. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, how are we going to be successful? Hold on. Oh, let's see, Sarah. It'll move around the house with me throughout the house, bedroom, kitchen. Yes, exactly. Yes. And that's like Mackenzie's strategy, right? It moves around with you all day long, which is fantastic. Hey, Laura, you need to go talk to Daddy, okay? I'm in a meeting right now. Okay. So the next part though, so that's the first place, right? Just an experiment, right? If you're finding you're not using it, then maybe try a different spot. It just takes a little bit of experimentation for the environment. Okay. The second part, Emily, though, this is why we talk about it being a map. You're worried about not using it to its fullest potential, but what's the point of it? Right? The point here, a successful year. What's the most successful year outcome that you could possibly have? And that is that you made your vision a reality to some degree. So, okay, wait, are you muted? I am talking to myself again, kind of. You can unmute if you want. We can have a conversation. But
okay, I'm still here listening.
Okay, awesome. No, you're good. Yeah, these were, oh, yeah. So like for you, if you create your vision for the year and you make it happen, does it matter how much you used your planner?
I guess not. No, I want the planner to be a tool to help me make my vision, but I'm just worried that I'm already disappointed.
You're already disappointed. Oh boy, that's a rough start. Well, here, can I show you all the blank pages in my planner this year? Would that help you?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think the here is I feel like there's this idea that if I'm not using it every day, then it wasn't worth it. Is that right? Are we feeling that? Or if I stop using it for a week, it's not worth it anymore. Is that what I'm hearing?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So here, this is a great example. I literally wrote nothing down this week of July, nothing. What I want you to think about the purpose of the planner. So let's say you're in survival mode, right? Because there's all these reasons why we wouldn't use our planner, right? One is that we're in survival mode. One is that things are so busy, we don't have time to even think about planning it. We're just running a million miles an hour. Another might be that we're kind of depressed and we're feeling unmotivated and we don't know what to write. Another one might be you're just bored and you don't have a vision, right? Like you're struggling on that front. So in all of those things, I feel like if all I were to do is use my planner to write down some semblance of idea what I'm going for. Now, vision isn't big either. Vision can be like, I want to get better at my laundry system, or I want to practice the piano more, or I want to start writing every day. Like those, that counts your vision. Like it doesn't have to be like, I want to start a business, become financially independent, and take a trip, like, like crazy, those crazy ideas, like it's reality, right? These are real. And for me, if I do that and I use my monthly spreads to reality check my life like that in survival mode, a planner is a reality checker. And I use it to pull myself out of those hard seasons. So I will set it down. Sometimes I set it down for a month. Sometimes it gets set down for 2 months and I don't touch it. The problem with that is then I start to feel like I'm wandering around without a map. And so then when I start floundering, I say, wait a minute, there's a better way to do this. And I can pull it back out and say, that's right. That's right. I could start planning out my meals again. Or that's right. I could choose a big 3 for the week. I don't feel like I'm making progress on things. I could choose a big 3 for the week. Or I am feeling really flustered during the week. My to-do list, it's too long. Oh, that's right. I could use context. So I feel like there's no way to fail is what I'm saying. You can't fail.
So I guess maybe like the issue for me is then just having confidence that I have a good vision and that I have a vision that's attainable and that a vision where I can have joy along the journey. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
do you have videos on like how to create your vision and how to figure out like what your talents are and knowing, yeah, I guess just having confidence you have a vision that actually is like fulfilling and unique. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's so good. That's such a good question. So heart of it. Yes. So first of all, those right in the planner bonus sections, there is the entire, like me coaching you through creating a vision.
Okay.
Then I've got a 5-day vision challenge that I do. That's kind of like an overview version of it. And I will add that to your bonus section. Actually, I will give you guys access to that because that's a nice way to just like see it slightly differently. For the Made to Soar course that I do, we go deep into visions together. So if you're looking for a community aspect of doing visions together and lots of like feedback, that's where I do that. But there are lots of resources that are just part of the planner bonuses to help coach you through your vision.
Gotcha. Okay. I must have missed that when you talked about it.
That's okay.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really good question, Emily. And it's one I get all the time. I think also it's like, this is something else. I've been creating my vision for like 5 years now, and it's looked different every year. So like really different every year. Like one year I was like, I'm going to create a goal for each of the 12 domains of my life. Like I'm going to create a physical goal and a marital goal and a parental goal and a financial goal. And like, it was very structured. The next year I created a vision based around the word nurture. I chose it as my word for the year. And so I picked ways that I wanted to nurture myself, ways I wanted to nurture my family, and ways I wanted to nurture my home. And that was really fun. Last year, I just picked one word, commit, and my vision was very simple. It was like, I'm going to commit to doing my homeschool consistently. I'm going to commit to doing my like household stuff consistently. And I'll commit to doing a few business things consistently. Like that's it. Like that's all I could handle this year. Life was just huge. My favorite thing that I've started doing though with my vision is I started out, and again, we talked about this, but I started out with a prayer. As I'm starting to work on this vision, I say, okay, Heavenly Father, like I only can see like a teeny tiny bit of my life. Like I just don't know. And so what do you like, help me see this clearly, help bring me that clarity, help me see what you have in mind for me, help me see what you have in mind for my life, see what you have in mind for my family, help bring things to my mind that I didn't know. Like I don't create this in a vacuum. It is something that I really pray and ponder over. And very rarely am I done by January. I'm normally doing this process in January and February. I think this year I finally wrote my vision down in July. So when I say you can't fail, I didn't even do my vision till July this year. This is a very forgiving process. It's one that's just meant to like meet you where you're at and just support you, because I've been the total survival mom. I've been the aimless mom. I've been the lost mom. I've been the bored. I've been the super overwhelmed and overcommitted, say yes to everything. Like I've done it all. And I just keep coming back to, these are the principles that create a life where you make progress without killing yourself, and you make progress without getting burned out, and you make progress without getting out of balance. Because here's the other thing about the big freeze I didn't talk about that's so powerful. Lindsay is a mom that's been using that's in my group. And the thing that she does so well is she uses the big three to check herself. And she says, okay, I've been working a ton in just family stuff. My big three is all about family the last few weeks. I am feeling really out of balance. I need to do some things for me on my big three this time. Or I have been focusing solely on like things for my business, and I'm feeling really out of balance. And I need to now go back and focus on families. So it's just another way to look at another view to help you see like, okay, I'm like it's hard. Like we feel certain things, we feel these big emotions. And this is a way to kind of go and be like, well, why am I feeling that way? Oh, that's why I haven't even like done anything for me for 3 weeks. Okay, we're going to switch that around. So again, it's a reality checker. It's a meet where you're at. And it's just to help you get more clarity to help you make better decisions as you're navigating your days. All right, Emily, great question. That was a long tangent, but super important to talk about. Any other thoughts? Any other situations you want to talk about? Any other questions relating to the planner or motherhood or those concepts in general?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I love planning, but my problem is oftentimes what I kind of have in mind and plan in my mind gets very much changed or interrupted by my children's schedule and plan.
Yep.
They're little, they're young. And so for me, I think the biggest challenge in feeling accomplished with my plan is that it often gets interrupted. So I was just wondering if you have any advice as far as helping me change my mental state around that, and then or anything else in regards to that.
Yeah. So first of all, how are you planning right now? Like when you're writing out your plan, like how is it? What's being interrupted, or like how are you writing it out that's being interrupted or can't happen?
Well, I've been trying to have more of a consistent morning and evening routine, and like a personal one, and that usually is getting interrupted by a child waking up early and that. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is kind of like my personal time that I want to have to help me, the rest of the day. That's what's getting interrupted. And And then just, other schedules throughout the day, wanting to do something at a certain time and then having to adjust it. But I think the biggest one is that personal, like scripture study, prayer, and that kind of getting thrown off.
Yes, I understand. So my biggest one is my kids just have learned that it's non-negotiable. Like I used to go into a mindset like, oh, if I wake up early enough, I can do my personal time. And then, but if they wake up, like when they wake up, it's over, was kind of how I used to approach it. Or I slept in, so I don't get it today. And now I've given my kids have a big 5 they have to do every morning. And it's just something so that I can tell them what to do, whether they do it or not. It's actually not super important to me. So I tell them they've got to get dressed, make their bed, say their prayers, brush their teeth, look at a book. Like, that's your big 5 in the morning. Well, I'm doing my thing. And typically they're just playing there, doing their big 5, but they know, hey, mom has a big 5 and I have a big 5, and I don't really do anything for them until I've done my big 5. Now I have a toddler. I am still doing my best to wake up because I love my personal time, and my toddler is just determined to wake up at like 5:30 or 6 with me. And so some mornings I occasionally like just hand her to my husband, but usually she's with me. And I have just stopped making it negotiable, like, and letting her be there stop me. And so she's learning, like she plays with me or like kind of plays around me while I read my scriptures and I journal and shower and things like that. Or today she climbed all over me and I handed her a piece of paper and she's writing in my book with me. But I think just changing in my mind. So we talked about the 3 pillars of thriving, soul and structure and vision, or scope, vision. And so here, like in that morning routine, I have a vision for what I want my morning to be, right? Like you have a plan. So that's huge. Having a vision for what you want in your morning and your evening is fantastic. 2 is the structure, right? So that's kind of what I'm describing, of building in this idea of like, no, this is just what everyone can expect. And I'm going to stick to the structure. Like we're going to learn it. We're going to get used to it. But the 3rd one is the most important. That's advocate, that soul, that advocate, and just giving yourself that permission to stick to it, to allow it to be important, to allow you to take up that space in the morning and that evening, and to allow your kids to be like, okay with waiting. And that's kind of how I've learned to navigate that. And then during the day, that's where if you start planning your weeks, not your days, putting things in contexts, getting those things done are helpful. As far as specific scheduled things, have you heard of the concept of rhythm? Like rhythm versus schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just heavily rely on that rhythm. So I don't even look at a clock most of the day. And that reduces my anxiety if I don't know what time it is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? These are very good questions. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I know it was kind of a fire hose today, but I just wanted a way to orient you a little bit more. Next week, we're going to meet and we're going to talk about the journal. So we're going to kind of talk about these principles of how the journal fits together, what each part is for. I think a lot of you probably have yours by now. And if you open it up, there's a lot in there. So I want to kind of just help you break it down so it doesn't seem like so much, and see what, bits and pieces and to use when and how, so that you can feel really successful with that. And then again, any other questions? Also, as you are kind of thinking about this week, you could even just, it might be kind of fun to try doing a weekly planning session the best you can, even on a piece of paper. For years, I just drew out all of these spreads in a notebook. So if you don't have this year's planner, it might be kind of fun to just experiment with a weekly review. And then next week, if you had questions or you got stuck, you're like, I'm not sure if I did this right, I'd be happy to talk to you about that since we're meeting. And I think that would be really fun. So if there are any other final questions, we'll just see you next week and it'll be great. So, okay. Well, then I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Jamie.